Welcome to the Mayor's Roundtable. I'm your mayor, Tony Strickland, Mayor of Huntington Beach, Surf City, USA. And today I have an unbelievable special guest, one of my favorite people here at City Hall. I call him the best city attorney in the country. We have Michael Gates, who I call Mr. Huntington Beach. Michael, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Mayor. It's a pleasure to be here.
And I tell this to everybody because Huntington Beach is so much in your heart. Like, I didn't have the privilege to grow up here. But go from you growing up here, tell us your story, to even, you're marrying your high school sweetheart here from Huntington Beach. So Michael, tell me your story. You born in Ohio, but tell us your Huntington Beach story.
No, thank you for that opportunity. So some know that I was born in the Midwest, but when I was a small child, my folks moved our family to Huntington Beach, California. That was our destination, because my dad got a job at McDonnell Douglas here in Huntington Beach, right up the street. So I've lived here ever since. And I've had siblings come and go, and they've left Huntington Beach, and we stayed. And so it's just really been an honor to call this my home since I was about 7 years old. And now it's an honor especially to be in this role as the city's attorney, the top attorney, fighting for the city that I grew up in every day. I worked in the private sector for a number of years before I ran for office here in 2014. And I can tell you that fighting these fights for the city, trying to protect the city, trying to defend the city, trying to advance the city's interests in court is probably the most rewarding job I've ever had, even compared to the private sector experience that I had representing private clients. So it's just a tremendous honor. And as you said, I married my high school sweetheart. She went to Huntington High, I went to Marina High. Go Vikings. We
Does she say go Oilers?
She does. And we have 5 beautiful children.
Do you go to the football games every day? You bet on the football games?
Well, there's definitely a rivalry there for sure. But like I was saying, 5 beautiful kids here. We're fully invested in the city. And we frankly just couldn't be happier. And like I said, I couldn't be prouder to be doing this job on behalf of the people of the city, for the city. So it's just a great experience.
So tell me, you graduate high school, you're a star wrestler, right? You were a great wrestler back in high school, a very competitive guy. Where did you go to college?
So you're right. In high school, I varsity football, varsity wrestling, and I did place in CIF, 3rd place in CIF for the weight class 171s. I started actually at Golden West College to rebuild my transcript essentially, and then I went to Pepperdine University, and then I went on to Chapman University of Law. So great local school, local education experience. I went back actually to teach at Golden West College. So I've taught law-related courses at Golden West College and also at Cal State Long Beach. So love education. I love giving back to education as well. And like I said, all of that's local. We love our schools here. High school, like I said, Golden West College, Pepperdine right up the street, and then Chapman also right up the street.
Take me to Chapman. You are at law school in Chapman. When you were at Chapman, did you anticipate going to a big private firm? Were you interested in being a DA? I mean, what were your passions there? And then how did you go from private law, and what did you practice? And then what made you decide to pretty much become a public servant?
Yeah, so that's a great question. In law school, I was inspired. I love the education. I love the opportunity that folks are talking about once they got out of law school. And I always knew I sort of wanted to be a rainmaker. I wanted to go out and really make a name for myself, but it wasn't, in my mind, geared towards private practice and making a bunch of money like a lot of attorneys do. It was toward doing great things with the tools that I was given in law school. And so I was really thinking I wanted to be a DA. And so I did a number of terms with the DA's office while in law school. And so while after I graduated, I applied to work for the DA, but I also applied for other firms, because the market at that time was not an easy market to break into. And so I ended up working at a medical malpractice defense law firm in Long Beach, again, right up the street. So I defended doctors and hospitals and nurses through a number of cases there, again, in private practice. And then after a couple years of doing that, I realized I didn't really want to get kind of pigeonholed into medical malpractice, although it's a great job, it's a great career. I just wanted to do a little bit more general practice. So I left that firm and went to a general firm in Santa Ana. And that's where I really cut my teeth on a wide range of cases. I worked for the county. I did large scale trucking litigation, personal injury, a whole host of things defending my clients. And so great experience there. I became partner. And then after having worked there, and one of my clients was the sheriff's department representing deputies. So after defending the county, defending the sheriff's department, having that experience, I realized, I could bring that success to the city attorney's office in 2014. And so that's when I ran for office. I thought, you know what, all the success I had, all the experience I got, and even becoming partner, I could bring that to the city attorney's office and make the city I grew up in even better. So that's what.
And I say you do a remarkable job. I always tease your wife, as you know, your heart is Huntington Beach, because I know for a fact you could be making a lot more money doing something other than being city attorney for Huntington Beach, but your heart is Huntington Beach. I always give the example, other cities don't have their directly elected attorney. And for example, Newport Beach, they hire out someone like Rutan and Tucker, a private firm. And you most recently won a $32 million lawsuit on behalf of the city of Huntington Beach from the state of California. And you led that charge. And I remind your wife, and I'm sure she doesn't like the fact that I remind her all the time, if you were the Newport Beach attorney and you won that law case, contingency fees, you probably make $11-12 million just off that one case. But the fact of the matter is, Michael, I've gotten to know you. It's not the money that drives you, it's the passion for your home city. And I appreciate that as mayor of Huntington Beach, of how you're always focusing in on what's best, in your opinion, for Huntington Beach.
Yeah, and for me, that's easy to do for a couple reasons. One, like you said, it's my hometown, and it's really a point of pride and a labor of love. I mean, how many attorneys, trial attorneys, get to represent their local police officers in court and defend them in large-scale, high-profile trials? Not many. I have that opportunity. But also, as an elected attorney, as you mentioned, I work for the people. So I represent the city, but I work for the people. And there's so much joy in doing the work that I do and achieving what I achieve for the folks in the community. And there's really no better feeling than that. And so that's kind of, the two primary reasons that drive me. And if people wonder, why are you doing this and why wouldn't you go to private practice? I could go to private practice, but there's something that keeps me here. And like I said, it's that I'm working hard for my hometown, but I'm also working for the people. And they have been so gracious and so generous about recognizing what we've done in the city attorney's office and appreciating what we've done, that really there's no better feeling, no greater reward than that experience.
So not only do you represent the city in trial, which you do the trials yourself many times, you have a whole department that you're managing. Tell me about your department, your budget, what you look for in your employees, and maybe you'll brag about a couple of your people in your department that have done remarkable work for our city.
Yeah, so that's another great question. So we're growing. We're actually conducting some interviews today. Full scale, we'll have about 10 attorneys and 4 support staff. So it's like a small in-house law firm that we have here at City Hall on the 4th floor. And we do have some really incredible people. We've got our municipal law experts. So we have a division that focuses on research, state law, municipal law, government law, land use law, and advises not only me, but also ultimately the city council and other departments. And then we have a litigation division. So we have a team of attorneys that actually work to prepare cases for trial, to defend the city, and to defend our police officers. And a lot of those attorneys are working cases up for ultimately me to take to trial, or me and another attorney to take to trial. And then we have a community prosecutor. So we've got somebody in-house who's actually prosecuting crime for the people. So, and that prosecutor's charge is to take on cases that impact our community's quality of life. So all of the stuff that you might have seen downtown years ago, whether it's public intoxication or indecent exposure or trespass or vandalism or petty theft, our prosecutor is focused on those cases. And when our prosecutor does that, prosecutes those cases in court, they're actually providing a tremendous service to our police department, because they're validating our police officers' work, right? Because our police officers oftentimes they're spread very thin, and they're trying to figure out what's going to be their greatest impact. Where do they go? What calls do they respond to? And when they know that our prosecutor is here on the ground working alongside them to prosecute their arrests, they are pleased and they are also rewarded for those arrests, those public intoxication arrests, those indecency arrests, those trespass arrests. They know that those arrests are going to mean something in court and that we're going to get prosecutions. So our office just does a tremendous job on a lot of different fronts. But ultimately, all of it is geared towards providing the best service to the city, the best result for the city, and really the best return on the taxpayers' money to the community.
Without a doubt. In fact, I just want to take it one step further. A lot of times, if we didn't have you prosecuting those, it would go to Todd Spitzer, who's our DA, who does a remarkable job, but they just don't have the bandwidth to go on some of these things. And so I believe it was a previous police chief actually quantified what you were doing in your office, and crime went down. What was it, 11?
So 11.5% in the first year between 2017 and 2018. And the police chief then quantified and attributed that drop directly to our prosecutorial efforts. And so, like you said, Todd Spitzer at the district attorney level in the department does a fantastic job. I don't know if there's a better relationship Huntington Beach has than with the district attorney's office. But Todd Spitzer and his predecessor, Tony Strickland, were glad to have our local prosecutor in-house assisting here on the ground, working directly with our police department to get effective prosecution. So it's just a really good combination.
So you're keeping us safe here in Huntington Beach, which I always said we have 13 million visitors from around the world here. If they're not safe, they don't come back. And thank you for doing that. Another thing is, in terms of law enforcement, I know it's in your heart, protecting those who protect us. There's a famous Dale Gallipo, I believe is his name, and you took him on. He never loses these court cases going against police officers. And you took him toe to toe, protecting our police officers in a case. Tell the audience a little bit about that case, because I think it really points to why you're so special here as our city attorney and why you save our taxpayers here in Huntington Beach a lot of money. So one example is Dale Gallipo. Explain who he is and that case and how successful we became.
Yeah. No, thank you for recognizing that. That's a great example. That's a case that most other cities and most other counties would have settled for millions of dollars. And this was a trial that I went to and tried last year, a 5-week trial against the #1 plaintiff's attorney in the state of California. And like you said, that was Dale Gallipo. And, I have a lot of respect for him. He's a very effective plaintiff's attorney. In fact, he's #1 in the state on prosecuting police shooting cases. And as you know, the sports complex was an officer-involved police shooting case. It involved 2 officers. We decided, with city council's support and approval, to take that case to trial rather than settle it. Because we believed in our officers and we believed that the work that they do. And we also believed on the attorney side that they deserve the best defense possible and to not be settled out. And so we took that case to trial. Dale Gallipo and his client wanted $20 million from the Huntington Beach taxpayer in that case. And we said, obviously the city council said no, not 20 million, not 10 million, not 5 million, we're going to go to trial. And so we tried that case, as you said, and it was a 5-week trial, and we got a complete defense verdict. So the jury completely sided with the city of Huntington Beach, completely sided with our officers, and found no fault in anything that they did. And they also ultimately decided that the shooting was justified. And so we sent really Dale Gallipo and his client away empty-handed, and we exonerated our police officers. And so it was a really, really good win. It was so significant, in fact, that a year later, just a few months ago, Dale Gallipo had another $20 million police shooting case, the 7-Eleven shooting case. And because we had beaten him in court the year before, he didn't, I don't think, wanted to try this case against the city. And so the demands on that case went from 20 million down to 5 million, down to 3 million, down to then less than $1 million. And so we did end up resolving that case for far less than $1 million. But it was because we had beat him the year before, right? Once you are willing to take cases to trial and you're willing to put up to fight for what's right and fight for your client, fight for the city, and you win, that sends a message. That sets a precedent. And so now that attorney thinks twice about taking us to trial.
Absolutely, because that first $20 million that you won the case, not only did we get exonerated, we got attorney's fees from that.
They owe us about $100,000 in costs.
So not only did they not get a dime from us, we got their costs. And so now in the second round, so again, you're talking about $40 million to other cities that we won exonerated and got attorney's fees, and then this one settled for $1 million. So you've done a remarkable job at saving the taxpayers here in Huntington Beach. Yeah. One thing that I want to point out and transitioning on top of that work is, we're in this together in terms of what they call the Fab Four. We got elected saying we unleash Michael Gates on these high-rise, high-density mandates coming from Sacramento. It was one of the key points that we said in our contract with Huntington Beach. I think your audience would like to hear just kind of an update, because at least from me, my resolve as mayor, I'm willing to take this to Supreme Court because Gavin Newsom and the mandates that came down would be equivalent of 50 high-rise, high-density buildings here in Huntington Beach when we're 95% built out. It would totally urbanize and change the whole framework of what Huntington Beach is, what it is as a suburban coastal community, and the hypocrisy that the governor has in terms of no mandate in his home county, and he's in the wine business, no mandate in Napa, no mandate in Montecito where Oprah Winfrey and his donors live, but he put such a large number on Huntington Beach. Right. We're fighting back. Right. Our four are unleashing you to get. Let's give an update on where we are on that case.
Yeah, and thanks to the City Council leadership, the Fab Four, for taking these bold steps, because it's only when cities like ours and like our council, it's only when they stand up and say no to Sacramento that we're going to get anywhere on pushing back on the mandates and the overreach. As long as cities just fall in line and roll over and implement and rubber stamp the mandates from Sacramento, Sacramento's running the cities, essentially, and micromanaging even local land use decisions in cities, which is not what the California Constitution ever contemplated. That's not what our form of government ever contemplated in California. So it is bold, and I will say that we have filed probably the mother of all lawsuits, housing lawsuits against the state of California and HCD and Newsom. But the lawsuit itself is a little bit novel, and it really pushes the limits. The legal theories advanced are primarily that, look, the governor through these mandates, HCD through these mandates, for Huntington Beach, 13,386 units of RHNA, or the Regional Housing Needs Assessment number for Huntington Beach. If that were to be implemented at a 20% inclusionary rate, which is what HCD recommends, that would nearly increase the city's entire housing stock by 50% overnight. So we're at about 81,000 units. That would increase it as much as 40,000 units practically overnight. That is very intrusive because Huntington Beach is fully developed. So what the state mandate is doing is it's requiring Huntington Beach to redevelop, to take existing developed properties and redevelop them. That is the most intrusive means. If the state is going to have any preemptive authority recognized by the courts, it's supposed to employ the least intrusive means. Well, why isn't it employing the least intrusive means? Why isn't it looking for areas in the state of California that are undeveloped and incentivizing development in those areas? They're not doing that. They're doing the opposite. They're looking for the most developed cities, and they're trying to force cities to develop. The other thing is, as you know from personal experience, is the whole free speech issue. Basically, the state is coming to local city councils like you and saying, you not only have to vote the way we want you to vote, but you have to make certain statements the way we want you to say them. And that relates specifically to the statement of overriding consideration that CEQA, the environmental housing, or the state environmental laws require. And this council said, no, we're not going to go along with that state compelled speech. That state compelled speech, that I have to adopt a statement of overriding consideration, that the high density housing outweighs the negative impacts to the environment. The benefits of high density housing outweigh the negative impacts. That statement I'm not willing to make. And so this council said, I'm not willing to make that statement. And I'm not willing to vote the way the state wants me to vote. I want to exercise my discretion that the voters vested me with. When I got elected, the voters vested me with the discretion to make decisions at the dais, not be a state agent and do whatever the state tells me to do. So there's a lot in this lawsuit. I think it is very effective. I think it is very compelling. And I think it's great that this council's resolved to take it all the way to the Supreme Court if need be.
And not only the council, I personally joined that case along with Gracie Vandermark personally because of that First Amendment issue. I do not think that his housing laws are more important than public safety, water, earthquake, everything else that comes with that. And I want to end with 95% of Californians live in 5% of the area space. There are no incentives to build in Inland Empire where they want to build or in any one of that other 95%. If they really truly cared about the housing laws, they would go there and offer incentives instead of doing what they're doing. We already ran out of time. I can't believe we ran out of time that fast. So I want to thank you for joining the Mayor's Roundtable. Great discussion with our, what I call the best city attorney in the country, Michael Gates. Thank you for joining us and looking forward to seeing you next time on the Mayor's Roundtable.